Returning to school during the pandemic could mean distance learning for some or many students, either temporarily or on a more permanent basis. Students who attend school in person will have to learn a number of new skills so they can comply with health measures and public health recommendations. Video modeling is a strategy that has been proven to be effective for teaching many skills to individuals with ASD. A number of studies have shown its effectiveness for teaching social communication skills, behavioral skills, and functional skills. In addition, the results have shown that skills are maintained and generalized over time. Besides being an evidence-based approach for learners with ASD, video modeling may also be helpful in teaching skills to all learners, whether they are physically at school or not. It could even be used to provide support for parents who are supervising their children's distance learning. So, video modeling is a technique that involves modeling a target behavior after a video has been watched. Generally, it consists in having a learner watch a video in which a model demonstrates the target behavior or skill, and then the learner must imitate that skill either immediately or later on. Viewing the video enables the learner to see, for example, the what, how, when, and why of a particular skill, if the learner has challenges with that skill, or it can also be used to learn a new skill. According to the research, video modeling is used most often in conjunction with other interventions such as prompting, visual supports, and reinforcement. However, it can also be used as a standalone intervention for a learner. In the past, video modeling could be seen as a long, laborious process requiring equipment that was not always readily available. However, with the development of modern technologies and the arrival of the smartphones, all the equipment required for quality video modeling is now available to us. Videos can be recorded on a smartphone or tablet, and there are many apps that can help in producing and editing videos, if need be. Now let's look at a few ways that video modeling can help learners. First, it can be helpful because it promotes visual learning or learning by observation. Modeling shows learners what the skill should look like, so in a way it provides learners with visual support. For instance, instead of following a written recipe, the learner could watch a video of a person making the recipe and follow each step being modeled. Using a video reduces the number of requests or instructions that are offered to the learner. Take, for example, a learner who needs to get ready to go outside in the winter, but cannot do this task independently. The adult may have to tell the learner to put on his snow pants and his coat, his boots, his scarf, his hat, and his mittens. Those are 6 different instructions. If video modeling is used for this task, the learner can watch another child complete each step and then follow the model, thus considerably reducing the number of instructions the learner has to be given. Video modeling helps to limit social interactions, which may reduce the stress and the anxiety of some learners. For example, consider the learner who experiences a great deal of social anxiety. They may be more comfortable viewing a video than observing a peer. By using video modeling, we ensure that interventions are consistent, repetitive, and structured because the modeling remains the same during each viewing. The video can be paused at strategic moments to emphasize certain elements or started at specific places so the learner can view, for example, a particular element that they find challenging. Some authors say that since technological tools are popular with young people, students generally enjoy watching videos, which may in turn increase their motivation and participation. It is said that video modeling can be a way of counteracting the fact that some learners pay attention to insignificant details in their surrounding, since it is possible to eliminate these elements when the video is being edited. This, in turn, enables learners to focus more on essential elements of the target behavior. To benefit from video modeling, learners must be able to imitate, demonstrate certain skills required by the target behavior, and of course, stay focused long enough to watch the video in its entirety. If learners have not yet acquired these skills, they must be taught beforehand in order for modeling to be beneficial. Video modeling can take different forms: basic video modeling, video self-modeling, point of view video modeling, and video prompting. Let's take a look at each of these types of video modelings in more detail. Basic video modeling is the most common type of video modeling. In this type of modeling, a third party, such as a peer, a parent, or an adult, is recorded performing the target behavior or skill. After viewing the video, the learner is immediately prompted to practice the target skill. When this technique is used, it is recommended that the modeling be done by a same-aged peer or a person who is important to the learner, such as a parent or a teacher. It may also be necessary to have a script and to practice modeling the skill before the video is taken. The following example shows a teacher modeling how to add fractions with a different denominator. This example could be used for learners who are in school or at home, and could even be presented to a parent so the parent can help the child with their math. Let's look at this video on the next slide.
I want to add two fractions that have different denominators. To do this, I need to find a common denominator. Since the denominators in my fractions are 3 and 4, I look for the smallest common multiple of 3 and 4, which is 12. Now I will convert my two fractions so that they both have a denominator of 12. I multiply 3 by 4 to get 12. Because I multiplied the denominator by 4, I also have to multiply the numerator by 4. So 2 times 4 is 8. Then I do the same thing for the other fraction. I multiply 4 by 3 to get 12. I also multiply the numerator by 3. I now have fractions with the same denominator, so I can add the numerators. 8 twelfths plus 3 twelfths equals 11 twelfths.
In video self-modeling, the learners themselves are recorded as they demonstrate the target behavior or skill. This type of modeling is used to show the learners what the behavior looks like when it's performed correctly. To do this type of modeling, learners must be able to follow the steps in the targeted skill without any assistance. The video, therefore, serves as a reminder. It may be necessary to record different takes and to edit them together if the learner experiences great difficulty. Although this type of modeling can take more time to record and edit, it can be very motivating for the learner to see themselves performing the skill. The following example shows a learner getting ready to go outside. In this video, she gets ready alone, following all the targeted steps. The learner can then view the video before getting ready to go outside to remind her of the steps that need to be followed. Let's look at this video on the next slide. In point of view modeling, The video shows what the behavior would look like from the learner's perspective when the learner performs the skill, as if he or she were demonstrating the skill themselves. In other words, the whole model is not seen, only certain parts, so the learner can see what the target behavior looks like from the perspective of the person demonstrating it. For example, in the case of hand washing, only the model's hands would be seen. The person chosen to be the model in this type of video can be the actual learner or another person. The following example shows what the learner would see when following the sequence of steps involved in hand washing. Let's take a look at this video on the next slide. Video prompting is used with skills that can be broken into several steps. The video can be recorded in two ways. Either the video presents all the steps from start to finish, or several short videos can be recorded, each representing one step. Regardless of the method used to make the recording, when learners view the video, they watch one step at a time, then carry out that step. The same process is repeated until the sequence is completed. This technique allows learners to carry out more complex tasks by focusing on one step at a time. It also helps to prevent learners from forgetting or reversing the steps of a certain task. In the following video, the learner watches a video that shows each of the steps in getting ready to go outside. All the steps of the skill are shown in one video, but while the video is being viewed, the adult stops the video after each step so the learner can perform that step of the task.
Okay, we're gonna get ready to go outside, and to help you out, I'm gonna show you a video of another little girl that's getting dressed, and you're gonna do just like her, okay? Super. Good job. We're ready to go outside.
Here are a few factors to consider when preparing to use video modeling. First, the behavior or skill to be taught must be clearly identified. Will the modeling have to include certain characteristics? And also, it must be determined that the target behavior or skill can actually be modeled. If the modeling will be done by another person, It is preferable that the model be a peer of around the same age group as the learner. However, a teacher, a parent, or another adult can model the skill if a peer is not available. It must be decided whether a script is necessary to ensure successful modeling. If the model is not the learner, the model must be given time to practice because it should be able to demonstrate the target skill easily, fluently, and naturally. And when it comes time to shoot the video, record it in an environment that is familiar as possible, using the same materials the learner will use in demonstrating the target skill. Also, it may be important to arrange the environment in a way that minimizes distraction so the learner isn't more interested in an article in the surrounding area, such as a game left on the table, than what is seen in the video. The video shouldn't be any longer than 2 to 3 minutes. It could be 3 or 4 minutes of recording before the editing process. During the editing phase, a title, headings, verbal instructions can be inserted as necessary to promote learning. When your video is ready, you can implement video modeling by using these steps. Choose the right time, eliminate distractions, prepare the materials, show the video to the learner, encourage the learner to demonstrate the target behavior after viewing the video, offer reinforcement to learners who demonstrate the behavior correctly or correct any errors that can occur, collect and analyze the data, and gradually fade video modeling. Now let's look at each of these steps in more detail. First, you must choose the most appropriate time to present the video. To promote success, it is important to show the video just before the student has to perform the skill in question. For instance, if the video demonstrates how to tie shoelaces, it would be shown just before the learner puts on their shoes. Viewing the video is therefore strategically incorporated into the student's schedule. Distractions must be eliminated as much as possible. You want the learner to focus his attention on the video, not on what is presently going on in the environment. It's important to prepare the material ahead of time. You have to make sure the lighting and the student's positioning don't interfere with the viewing. For instance, if the learner views modeling on a laptop, check that the screen is angled properly so the student can see it clearly, because they may not know how to move the screen to optimize display and clarity. Be sure you have the materials needed to perform the task or behavior demonstrated in the modeling beforehand. The modeling must be ready to be used when the viewing is over, so that the time lag between the viewing and the practice is as short as possible. If learning is being done remotely, the teacher will have to indicate clearly to the students when they should view the video. The video must be placed in a strategic location that is readily accessible to students and parents. Teachers could even do a demonstration during a virtual meeting so students can see how to access the video. The adult can play different roles during the viewing, depending on the learner's needs and level of independence. If the learner is capable of managing the technological equipment and viewing the video independently, the adult can simply supervise the activity. If there's a strong chance that the learner will become distracted or try to handle or play with the computer or the tablet or the telephone, the adult can manage technological equipment. The adult may also choose to show the entire video or stop it at certain points to allow the learner to carry out one of the steps in question. During the viewing, the adult will have to make sure the learner is paying attention to the video and can provide prompting if needed. When learning is done remotely, the cooperation of parents and guardians may be required if the student needs support with viewing the video. Teachers could also show the video on their computer during a virtual meeting. That way, they ensure that all students have viewed it and they can stop it at an opportune time if necessary. Last of all, it's important for the adult to show enthusiasm about viewing the video and to reinforce good listening skills among their learners. Prompting can be used, together with video modeling, to promote success of the student. Prompting is an aid provided before or while the learner demonstrates the target behavior to encourage a correct response. There are different types of prompting that can be used with video modeling. Prompting can be used while the video is being viewed or afterwards when the learner is performing the task. During viewing, the adult can prompt the learner to pay attention to the video through gestures or words, and the adult can also stop the video after each step to give the learner a chance to carry it out. After the video has been viewed, and while the learner is performing the task, the adult can use different types of prompting to help the learner succeed. Take the following example. If a learner talks without raising their hand, and this behavior is a problem, at the start of the class, the learner can view a video modeling of a learner who does raise his hand before they speak. During class, when the learner should raise their hand, the adult can use a type of prompting such as physical prompting, maybe gently raising the learner's arm, or verbal prompting, maybe whispering to the learner to raise their hand. Gestural prompting, maybe pointing the learner's hand or arm to remind the learner to raise it, or maybe visual prompting, showing the learner an image of a learner raising their hand. The prompting could also be textual, where we could show the learner a card on which it's written, "Raise your hand, please." When the learner starts to exhibit the target behavior consistently, prompting is gradually faded to promote independence and to ensure that the skill is maintained. When a new skill is being taught, it is important to reinforce the behavior immediately whenever the learner demonstrates the target skill or behavior. At the start, reinforcement should be provided every time the skill is demonstrated to promote learning. This reinforcement is often planned. For example, when a child is learning to wash their hands, they could be given a sticker every time the behavior is demonstrated. When reinforcement is used effectively, the frequency of the target behavior should increase. When a learner demonstrates the skill or behavior independently, you must start to fade the reinforcement and use intermittent reinforcement. For example, you can continue to provide reinforcement, but not every time the skill or behavior is demonstrated. The number of times a behavior needs to be exhibited to obtain reinforcement can gradually increase to maintain the frequency of the behavior. When the learner demonstrates the skill consistently and generalizes it with different people in different situations, you can transition to reinforcers that occur more naturally. That is, reinforcement that is offered naturally in the environment and is not planned. For instance, a reinforcer that occurs naturally when you greet someone is that you're greeted again by that person in return. A reinforcer that occurs naturally after hand washing would be having clean hands. At this stage, because reinforcement is already being offered intermittently and fading is occurring gradually, the transition to naturally occurring reinforcers shouldn't affect the learner's behavior. If the learner stops exhibiting the behavior when the planned reinforcement is eliminated, fading may have taken place too soon, and you may need to go back to planned reinforcement for a little while longer. An error correction approach can be used if the learner consistently commits an error in one of the steps in particular. In this case, have the learner view only the part of the video that shows the step that's causing the problem and allow the learner to practice that step only. For example, if a learner watches a video modeling on how to use a padlock, but keeps forgetting to lock the padlock when putting it back on his or her locker, then the part where the model locks the padlock would be the only part viewed and practiced. When a learner practices a skill, it's important to collect data about the learner's skill in demonstrating the target skill or behavior. You can collect data about the frequency or duration of the target behavior, as well as specific information about the learner's performance. Example, the learner has trouble doing up his zipper, but successfully manages all the other steps. The data are used to view progress and decide when it is time to fade prompts, reinforce, and use video modeling. As with any other intervention, observation periods must be scheduled to ensure follow-up of progress. Each observation period is an independent event where the learner practices the target behavior and the observer collects data. Intervention-related decisions must always be based on the data collected. When the data show that video modeling is helping the learner to successfully adopt the target behavior, you must gradually fade the modeling so the learner can become independent and maintain the newly acquired skills. To fade modeling, you can insert a delay before the modeling starts by gradually eliminating the first step in the modeling process or stopping the video before it's over. You can also remove certain scenes or parts of the video that the learner has mastered. For example, if video modeling is used to show a learner how to wash their hands and the learner is starting to master the first step, which would be turning on the tap, you can start the video at the second step instead of at the beginning in order to fade its use. The learner would therefore observe the model wetting hands, picking up the soap, lathering and rinsing hands, turning off the tap, drying hands, and finally hanging the towel back up. What if the learner doesn't show any progress when video modeling is used? Here are a few thoughts. Is the target skill defined in observable and measurable terms? Is the task too difficult? Is it possible to do a task analysis by breaking it into simpler steps? Are there any prerequisites that video modeling skills that would need to be taught to the learner? Is the strategy being used frequently enough? Is video modeling being implemented effectively? Is the learner motivated by the reinforcers? You can also explore other possible solutions to see whether you might improve the situation. However, if you've already tried certain strategies and the learner still isn't making any progress, video modeling may not be an effective strategy for that learner. Video modeling is an evidence-based intervention that is particularly effective with individuals with ASD, but it may also be effective with all learners, especially when learning is taking place remotely. It's an intervention that promotes learning by observation and that helps reduce the number of instructions that need to be given to the learners, and also the number of social interactions, especially with learners who find this challenging. There are 4 types of video modeling. We saw there were basic video modeling, video self-modeling, point of view video modeling, and video prompting. Regardless of the type of video modeling that's being used, several steps are involved and special preparation is required. The adult must help the learner as needed during the intervention while encouraging them to be independent. The adult must also encourage the learner at various times during the intervention and offer reinforcement after the learner has demonstrated the targeted skill. Last of all, the data you collect will help you determine when it is necessary to offer prompting and reinforcement and when it is time to start fading these strategies. The data will also tell you whether you need to reassess video modeling and its implementation and when you can start fading. Good luck with using this intervention with your learners.